The Question thought that the Justice Lords universe was a time loop of the main DCAU. But was that accurate?
Because it's Thursday.
Hello, Watchtower Database, and welcome back to the Vanishing Point, home of half the cast of Infinity War. Recently, one of you brought to our attention on Twitter that with where we have a better world taking place in the Justice League timeline, click the link up there, the 2-year gap in the beginning of the episode makes it seem as if the Justice League shouldn't have even existed yet in the main DCAU. And this whole train of thought got me thinking, just how different is the Justice Lords universe from the Justice League's universe? And I came up with a lot more of where they differ than I thought I would. So let's just jump into it. To get a feel for exactly how different it all is, we first have to try to figure out when this all took place. If the question's right and it's a time loop, this would mean it would be at least 2004, with Luthor having become president and not being arrested in 2003 like happened in Justice League Unlimited. And with the obvious George W. Bush analog, I'd say as late as 2008 as to not overlap his real world presidential term. Right away, the most obvious difference is that if Lex had become president, then the Cadmus arc would not have occurred the same way as seen on Justice League Unlimited. Even though Cadmus's roots go as far back as the DCAU's 90s, it just seems that in the Lords universe, it never would have ramped up its scope to where it was in the Justice League universe, likely because a more totalitarian version of the group never invaded the Justice Lords universe like they did in the Justice League's universe. Of course though, this isn't where differences stop. You guys remember this clip?
They don't call themselves the Justice Lords. They're the Justice League.
This implies that the universe's changes maybe started even earlier than 2004, going as far back as where the group of heroes got their name, as these guys were always called the Justice Lords and seemingly never the Justice League. What could have caused that difference? It's hard to say from a factual standpoint, but I have a theory. So in the main DCAU, we know that the League expanded as a result of the Thanagarian invasion. Yet, in the Lord's verse, we only ever see the 7 founding members of the League. Well, 6 minus the Flash. There are a couple Joe Schmoes on their version of the Watchtower, but never any other extra heroes. So this makes me think that it's possible that this all takes place before their version of the events of Starcrossed, which, if that were the case, means Lord Luthor's presidential campaign would have started in 1999 during their equivalent of Superman the Animated Series. He would have won the election in 2000 and then become president January of 2001 in the Justice Lords world. So with Superman's arch nemesis taking the seat of the most powerful man in the world around the time that the Justice League is forming, as well as Penguin likely becoming the mayor of Gotham as seen in Batman Adventures Volume 2 around the same time, it makes a lot of sense for the group of heroes to take on a more powerful name for their team to put out the idea that good will always triumph. Interestingly though, this train of thought does raise another issue. If Lex didn't become president until January of 2001, then this pushes the 2 years later to sometime in 2003. But even then, the presidential replacement is talking about fall elections coming up, which makes me think it's pushed even further to 2004. And yet Hawkgirl is still on the team, despite this at the very least being 6 months after when Starcrossed would have occurred. Which is weird because the Lords have shown their willingness to lobotomize or even outright kill anyone who's a potential threat. Honestly though, that makes Batman and Harley Quinn not have even happened either, because can't have a henchman bar with a bunch of lobotomized henchmen. Who would buy the milk? So does this split in time go even further back to when Hawkgirl came to Earth, Thanagarian refugee rather than a double agent? Or with the Lords taking a more totalitarian approach to how they govern things, did Thanagar's invasion just need to be pushed further back? And past this, I now have questions about Lex's cancer diagnosis. If he stayed on the right side of the law long enough to become the president, then this means he never formed the Injustice Gang. The events of Injustice for All just never happened in that universe. So does he even know that he has cancer? Is it going untreated and this is why he's talking kind of crazy at the start of the episode?
And they're going to burn for it. Burn!
You're nothing but a mad dog now, aren't you?
And if he doesn't know he has cancer, does this mean he never searched out for Dr. Ivo and thus Amazo was never activated? Not to mention that all of the Justice League adventures that had Flash are also off the table. So what did happen in the Lord's universe? Overall, it's just really hard to say. Obviously, some form of secret origins had to occur for the team to come together and for Jean and Diana to both have their origin stories, but past that, it seems like nothing really matches up. And with how different the two universes are, it just seems like the question was absolutely wrong in his line of thinking that there was a time loop. So now, my question for you guys to leave down under in the Australia box, just how far does this all go? I haven't even touched on the Justice Lords Beyond stories in the Batman Beyond 2.0 book, and it just seems like there's a lot more that could unravel. How far back did the changes occur, and what inconsistencies did I miss? Before I leave, I want to give a shout out to all these folks who gave us the money they found in between their couch cushions this month on Patreon. With your help, we're building up the Space Force. If you want to make this a reality, or if you want to just give us some extra motivation to keep putting these out, there's a link in the description box. Check it out or don't. Ooh, also, I just recently had a birthday, and look what my girlfriend got me. It's beautiful. I want to put it up somewhere. We're moving into a new apartment in a couple months. The set's gonna change, maybe then. If you guys want to give me more Twitter threads to turn into Vanishing Point videos, you can reach me at DCAU Timeline on Twitter. I've also just started doing vlogs on my personal channel since some of you have subscribed. Some of that's gonna have behind the scenes stuff for this, some of it won't. I just figure that's the kind of thing that people who are subscribed to my personal thing might want. I'm calling it the Vlogashing Point right now. I don't know if that's gonna stay, but anyway, I've been Maddie Washburn. This has been the Vanishing Point. None of y'all answered my question if you would marry me 2 weeks ago, and it's kind of got me upset, but that's okay. I've got 2 weeks to get over it. I still love you. That'll never change.